So, when we're talking about our emotions and limiting beliefs, it's really important that we figure out what emotion is actually behind or the culprit of our limiting beliefs because our approach is going to be the same. We want to rewrite it, but we want to know which state we're living in because something that's a statement that's a fear statement is going to be much different than something that's going to be an anger statement. So we want to acknowledge what that would look like. So when I think about different statements for emotions, I think about how fear really keeps us stuck so often. So there's fears of I'm not good enough, I'm not going to be successful at this, I'm going to fail. Other things could be like I'm not strong enough to make this transition in my life. And those thoughts, we really want to look at, is there any evidence that proves this? Is this just an emotion or is this something else? And I know a long time ago, I used to think about our stress response and how that kicks in when we're feeling stressed out about making decisions or making change in our lives. And I learned how to make stress my friend. So when it came to that, a lot of the times when we're experiencing fear, we might have our hands might get sweaty, we might have a shaky voice, we might feel like our stomach's upset, and all of these things. And our body's trying to tell us something for sure. But sometimes we need to go through that and learn how to push through stress rather than just hide from it. So when I think about things like I'm not strong enough to get through something, that happened to me 3 years ago. I was stuck, and that feeling of fear of, well, what's the right step? What's the next best step that I'm going to be able to take? And I just want to acknowledge if you're in a place of fear, there is no perfect step that you're going to somehow figure out if you give yourself enough time to be able to make that career transition and that relationship, take that risk on yourself, start your own business, whatever it might be. There's no right step that you're convincing yourself if everything lines up perfectly, that's going to be the time. I know we have to do things when we're a little bit scared. And I think if we stay in a state of fear, we'll stay stuck forever. So, how do you embrace fear? You sit there and you think about the fear of staying the same can sometimes be way worse than the fear of changing. And that was my motivating factor when I was stuck. I knew that if I stayed the same, first of all, it felt horrible, so I didn't want to do that. Second of all, I was actually scared to see how bad it could get in the next year if I didn't make the decision, how much I wouldn't be happy, how much time I would have wasted, what opportunities I would have missed out on. So sometimes flipping the script of instead of all the fearing the things that what could go wrong if we make a decision, what could go wrong if we stayed and did the exact same thing? So figure out if there's ways to make some hacks on how that works for you. I want to acknowledge that emotions make limiting beliefs tricky because emotions can really impact our thoughts, but it can also impact how our bodies are feeling. And if we don't acknowledge those big core limiting beliefs and the emotion that's behind them, they show up in every aspect of our lives. So I like to think about shame and things of I'm not good enough and I'm not worthy of love and support. When I hear that, there's no way that doesn't impact every single thing that people do. From your basic interactions with every day-to-day human being to how you show up in relationships, Whether that's you're trying to prove yourself nonstop that you're worthy of that love and you're people pleasing, or whether it's you're pushing people away because you have that belief. So there's multiple ways that shows up. Your education choices, your career choices, just it shows up in every single thing. So my challenge to you is get real with yourself. And it sucks, but trust me, it'll help you get unstuck and it will also help you get your life back. So sit with yourself and really figure out, what are my limiting beliefs that are holding me back? What are the things that I say to myself consistently that reinforces that? And then think about, what emotion am I holding on to right now? Or what emotion drives this limiting belief? And take some time to really reflect on that. And at and a little bit later in our course, we're going to be going back to that and figuring out what's our plan moving forward, and how are we going to make sure that we don't let those thoughts get in the way of the person that we want to become. Because I can be scared that I might fail, but still do the things that show that I'm successful. I can be scared that everything could be worst case scenario, but beautiful things could still happen, right? So don't let your emotions ruin your life. Take some control and learn to embrace them and move through them, rather than try to give so much resistance to get away from them.